Adele was in the middle of her show when she suddenly stopped. Her eyes locked on one face in the crowd. She froze, tears filling her eyes. The band kept playing, but Adele didn't move. Because in that moment, she realized who it was. And what happened next, no one in that room will ever forget. Long before the world tours, before the awards, the sold-out arenas, Adele was just a shy teenager from Tottenham. She carried a notebook everywhere, filled with half-finished lyrics and little sketches in the margins. Her voice, raw, untamed. Her confidence, almost non-existent. And that's when Ms. McDonald stepped into her life. She wasn't just Adele's English teacher, she was the first person who truly listened. She saw the way Adele's eyes lit up when she talked about music. The way her words came alive when she turned poems into songs. One afternoon, after class, Ms. McDonald stopped Adele as she was leaving. "You have something rare," she told her. "Don't hide it." It was just one sentence. But it was the first time anyone had made Adele believe she could be more than just another voice in the crowd. Adele never forgot those words. But life had a way of moving quickly. She finished school, chased music with everything she had, and slowly, her world began to change. Small gigs turned into bigger ones. Bigger ones turned into recording sessions. And before long, she was living a life she had once only written about in her notebook. But in all that whirlwind, the tours, the interviews, the constant travel, something got lost. The girl who once sat in Ms. McDonald's classroom never had the chance to go back. To say thank you. Years passed, Adele's career soared to unimaginable heights. And Ms. McDonald quietly retired from teaching. She never sought the spotlight, never tried to reach out. She was content, simply knowing that her former student had made it. Still, from her home in London, she followed every milestone. The debut album that took the world by storm. The heartbreaking ballads that topped the charts. And every time she heard that voice, she couldn't help but smile. Remembering the shy girl with the big notebook. Neither of them knew it, but one night, their paths were about to cross again, in the most unexpected way. It was a night Adele would never forget. A one-night special, filmed in front of a live audience, at the London Palladium. Friends, celebrities, and lifelong fans filled the seats. Backstage, the atmosphere was electric. Hairstylists making last-minute touch-ups. Stagehands checking the lights. The band warming up. For Adele, it was a homecoming. Performing in the city where it all began. Somewhere in the crowd, a woman sat quietly in her seat. She wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't part of the music industry. Just a retired English teacher with kind eyes and a warm smile. Ms. McDonald had been invited to the show as a surprise, but Adele didn't know. She had no idea her former teacher was sitting just a few rows away, watching every moment. The lights dimmed. The music started. Adele walked out to thunderous applause, smiling and waving to the crowd. She sang her first songs flawlessly, her voice filling the theater. But then, during a break in the show, the host Emma Thompson stepped forward. She asked Adele a simple question. "Was there someone who inspired you when you were younger?" Adele smiled. As she answered Emma Thompson's question, speaking warmly about her English teacher from Chestnut Grove, Ms. McDonald, the one who made her believe she had something worth saying. The audience listened closely. Until Emma leaned in, her voice carrying just a hint of mischief. "I think she's here tonight." Adele's head snapped toward her. Her brows furrowed. She shook her head slightly, almost laughing in disbelief. "You're kidding," she said, her voice catching. Emma gestured toward the crowd. And then, Adele saw her. Ms. McDonald stood from her seat, smiling shyly, as she began to make her way forward. For a moment, Adele didn't move. Her hand covering her mouth, her eyes glistening as the realization sank in. The crowd erupted in applause, some even rising to their feet. Adele's breathing quickened. Her shoulders trembled. She took one small step forward, then another, and by the time Ms. McDonald reached the edge of the stage, Adele was already there. They fell into each other's arms. Adele buried her face into her teacher's shoulder. the sound of the crowd fading beneath the rush of her own heartbeat. "You look exactly the same," she whispered through tears. Ms. McDonald squeezed her hand, her voice warm and steady. "I'm so proud of you." In that moment, the years between them seemed to vanish, leaving only gratitude, love, and the memory of a classroom where it had all begun. The two spoke for only a minute on stage. A few words, a few laughs through the tears, before Ms. McDonald returned to her seat. Adele stood there for a moment, watching her fade back into the crowd. She took a slow breath, her hand pressed to her heart, as if trying to hold on to the moment just a little longer. The audience was still clapping, but for Adele, the theater suddenly felt quiet. When she finally turned back to the microphone, there was a softness in her eyes. And for the rest of the night, every note she sang carried something more, not just music, but gratitude. For the teacher who once told a shy girl from Tottenham that her words were worth hearing.